When you said the statewide business income tax credit for businesses that create or expand childcare access for their employees, do you mean financially or do you mean on-site or both?
I think it could be both.
It could
They
be
can partner with providers if they're looking to do an on-site facility. They would likely need a licensed provider to come to their on-site location, but yes, I think the point is to be creative. We're trying to be as creative as possible.
Good. And first, I don't want it going without saying that I applaud you. I applaud the governor for taking this seriously and doing what she's doing in this budget, because we are in a crisis.
Yes,
and it's a threefold crisis. It's a crisis of, are we reaching enough children and families? Mm-hmm. When we do, are there providers available and are there workers available? And the answer is no to all of those. So getting creative with the business community. So when we talk about business and public-private partnerships, have you been in contact with groups like NFIB, the Business Council, MACNY, Ignite Long Island, some of these that maybe can create incentives? Because for any businesses out there listening, psst, if you want a big advantage, offer this as a benefit. You will attract the best and the brightest to come there, because the ones that benefit the most, other than the parents knowing they're getting good child care for their children, are the businesses.
Right.
We have a problem getting people back in the workforce now, and the problem is because, and I've talked to several who said, it will cost me to go to work because of childcare. Right. Are we working with these groups, again, getting creative, because again, the businesses are going to benefit for this. Is there maybe an effort in place to create a fund or something where they can contribute to offer even more incentives? So,
love your ideas. We're going to write them down and take those back to our office. But I think those two public-private partnerships that do involve business, that really speaks to the economic infrastructure issue we're trying to get at. And the business income tax incentive program is going to be throughout the 10 regional economic development councils. So the RIDCs are involved. I don't know if we're working with those specific people, but I'm sure someone very smart in my office or the governor's office has.
We'll definitely talk on that and provide it. But now I've talked to some in the industry who've also said, well, that's great, but you had mentioned, and I quote, the cumbersome and antiquated application process for families, but also for providers. They're saying, hey, we're jumping through a lot of hoops here. Is there an effort to streamline the system?
Yes. So actually, when we increased the market rate to the 80th percentile, we tried to streamline the process for the providers, particularly those who serve 100% of children that receive child care assistance. So we streamlined the application as much as we could by state statute and regulation. So we are. I mean, streamlining really is the name, like the word of the day. So our office has regional offices. We contract with CC&Rs. They work with providers. So we have an infrastructure in place to provide providers with that support. We're trying to give as much flexibility now to the parents.
Good, good. In my remaining time, I want to focus on the funding too. Now, if I have my numbers right, it says the executive proposes to utilize an estimated $800 million in unspent and rollover funds in addition to $500 million in federal pandemic. Yes. How long will that last? And then when that runs out, is that going to shift onto localities, onto the counties, or how do we handle that?
Well, so I think, as we mentioned, even last year, the governor made this historic investment in child care, right? $7 billion. This year it goes on. It's $7.6 billion over 4 years. I don't think any of us thought we'd be here 4 or 5 years ago. And I think in last year's financial plan, we saw the investment in years out, and this year's financial plan, we will also see the investment in years out. So I think the governor has made a commitment to support this industry. So yes, our pandemic funds will eventually run out. We want our local counties to use their subsidy, but there is significant rollover every year. So we're just going to invest all of our funds as effectively as possible.